Growing up on a farm, I knew that if I wanted to see more of the world than just the local tractor parts supply store, I needed to join the military. We weren't super poor, but we were definitely lower middle class. My mom made my clothes and we never went on vacation. Since I was 7 years old, I spent most of my days manually loading and stacking bales of hay, straw, and alfalfa. After high school, despite my parents' wishes, my best friend and I joined the Marines for 4 years. We were stationed at 2 different locations. In the US, South Korea, and Japan, I felt more comfortable around shorter people since I'm only 5 feet 7 inches tall. Due to cultural differences, we were told to stick to American-friendly clubs and entertainment during our vacation. My buddy Hal and I tried to hit up as many tourist spots as we could, knowing we might not get another chance. I blew half my cash on the ladies and tried to send the rest back home. Hal had to get treated for an STD a few times, but I played it safe. Me and my buddies used condoms and didn't catch any STDs. We did all sorts of stuff outside of work that we found interesting, even competitions that other Marines could only dream about. By the time we left the military, everyone called me Army instead of my real name, Calvin Bosk. Even when we got back home, Hal kept calling me Army and it stuck. The people in town thought it was a diss about my time in the Marines, but I didn't bother correcting them. In the military, I learned to brush off insults and our small town didn't faze me. There weren't a lot of job options besides farming and construction, but I didn't want to live too far from my folks. After traveling the world, I was ready to put down roots. Since I grew up on a farm, I figured construction was the way to go. I worked as a laborer, busting my butt loading and unloading bricks, blocks, sheetrock, trusses, and lumber. My job was to deliver and stack stuff in places where Ford trucks could get through. I'm no stranger to hard work, I could go all day without getting tired. After work, I'd shower, kick back, and relax. I was just hanging out with my buddies, having a few beers, when I ran into Stacy at Higgins' restaurant. It was like love at first sight. She was the hottest girl I had ever seen, and I've seen a lot. I must have asked her out like 30 times before she finally said yes. I think she just did it to get me to stop bugging her, but we really hit it off. We were like 2 peas in a pod, couldn't find a better match. Stacy has got it all: looks, personality, and a great sense of humor. And let me tell you, she had curves in all the right places and knew how to work them. After 9 months of dating regularly, me and Stacy decided to tie the knot 6 months later when we were both 24. We were over the moon happy and talked about starting a family. We made a promise to save up enough money for a kid without breaking the bank on our tight salaries. After paying rent and bills, we were basically broke and living paycheck to paycheck. Somerville, the 3rd biggest city in the state, was 40 miles away from our hometown Belford. Kensington, where a lot of Somerville commuters live, is a bustling bedroom community. Only 22 miles from Bedford, they're setting up new businesses to keep up with the growing needs of the people. Like Stokes Exercise Palace, it's a gym for both guys and gals. Amy, you won't believe what I found out today. Another sale at the dollar store. Just kidding, that's lame. Brenda, my friend, had lunch at a restaurant and told me about a new gym opening in Kensington. They'll be hiring soon, so keep an eye out for interviews in the next week or 2. Girl, they told me the starting salary for newbies, and let me tell you, if they hire me, I'll be making around 30% more than what I'm making now in wages and tips at the restaurant. I might even be bringing home close to what you make. Isn't that amazing? We can finally start saving up for a family and have the baby we've been wanting for so long. I get what you're saying, but what do I know about fitness and clubs? Do you need a degree or something for those jobs? I have no idea what the requirements are. I'll have to go find out. Connie said she'd come in early to cover for me so I could go to Stokes Fitness Palace for an interview. I'll cover for her later tonight. Brenda mentioned they take walk-ins, no need for appointments. It wouldn't hurt to see what job opportunities they have. There are plenty of other jobs in Bedford, but if you get this one, you'll have to commute every day. Don't get too excited, but you should definitely give it a try. So, get this, after work tomorrow, I found out I got a job at Stokes Fitness Palace in Kensington. Remember how you told me about it? Well, they're gonna pay me 25% more than what I'm making now. And if I do well on the performance evaluation, they might bump it up to 30%. Brenda said it sounds too good to be true. And get this, they have their own training program for all their machines and strength training. How cool is that? Text translated into colloquial English. Once I know my way around the equipment, they're gonna promote me to floor manager. I'll help anyone who's new to the gear. They mentioned that eventually I could even become a trainer, which would bump up my pay by 20%. How awesome is that? Stacy excitedly exclaimed. So, when are you supposed to start? I asked. I told them I'd need to give my current job at least a week's notice. I don't want to leave them hanging, I explained. They said it's cool with them, I added, looking for reassurance from Stacy. Are you still good with all of this? I asked, wanting to make sure she was on board. We'll start saving more money for our family's future once you're on board with it. I can't wait to have a baby with you, babe. Stacy, nothing would make me happier. At first, Stacy dressed modestly for her new job, wearing regular pants and bright button-up tops. But after a month, she splurged on 5 pairs of yoga pants and matching halter tops, saying they were more fitting for the gym vibe. I get where she's coming from. 3 months later, she started rocking space-themed outfits. Yo, those Handex short shorts were not my vibe. I could see way too much, if you catch my drift. When I brought it up, she just brushed it off as me being overprotective and showed me pics from the gym where all the other girls were dressed the same. She even started getting cash tips from some people she was helping out to try and calm me down. But I wasn't buying it. One day, I left work early and decided to swing by Stokes Fitness Palace unannounced. I watched her for a bit until she finally noticed me and came over to say hi. And guess what? She wasn't even doing anything at the time. Hey babe, why you showing up unannounced like this? I just wanted to check out where my wife works, this place is pretty cool. I'm impressed you came by. Come on, let me introduce you to my boss. She brought me over to this big dude, Gerald. This is my husband Calvin, everyone calls him Army. And this is Gerald Jenkins, everyone calls him Goliath for obvious reasons. We shook hands and Goliath tried to intimidate me with his size, but he was subtle about it. He was strong as an ox, but I didn't back down. He was easily 6 feet 2 inches and I was 5 feet 9 inches. I knew I weighed around 175 pounds and was stocky, while he looked to be at least 245 pounds of lean muscle. He was ripped and clearly a bodybuilder, the perfect poster boy for the fitness club. We both grinned enthusiastically until Stacy had to leave because someone called him away. Stacy then gave me a full tour and explained most of their procedures. I did notice 2 female co-workers dressed just like him. I'm glad I stopped by, it's got me thinking. Stacy's sex drive got a major boost after our wild meeting. We were getting it on almost every night, and she credited it to her workouts and better diet. She lost some weight and gained muscle, and I was all for it. I happily took in her new horny energy, which always left us gasping for breath after each romp. She didn't talk about the guy she worked with, not even Goliath, which I took as a good sign. But then came the fateful Friday night that changed everything. Stacy told me there's a change in her schedule, babe. I usually don't work weekends, but the gym is having a big event tomorrow and they need all hands on deck. There's a really important private event at 7 p.m. and they want all spouses to come. I want to show you off to everyone, my hubby. Can you please make an effort to come? Pretty please. She asked me with a cute look, rubbing her eyes. What kind of promotion is it, Stacy? I'm not just gonna sign up for anything. I'm always running around delivering packages for their programs. Don't worry, they won't try to sell you anything. So, what's the deal? Are you getting a new order or something? She was asking aggressively after this advertising event. Maybe we can start growing our family sooner rather than later. You'll have to come and see for yourself. I can't say anything else. Well, I'll be there to see what all the fuss is about. She tired us out so much that I could hardly move. She had already left. So, when I woke up on Saturday morning, I hit up my buddy Hal and pretty much spent the whole day helping him work on his car. He was all about tweaking it, making it faster, upping the horsepower. I filled him in on my chat with Stacy about the weird stuff going down tonight. I was telling him how my spidey senses were tingling but I couldn't figure out why. Hey man, Hal started, why don't I roll with you tonight for backup? And while you're at it, come check out my new toy. I scored big at a poker game last night. Cool, right? A couple weeks ago, I got this cool little pen voice recorder that can hold a charge for up to 70 hours. It even has a built-in USB adapter for fast downloading of recordings. Just twist the top to turn it on. It works great as a pen too, so no one will suspect a thing. A buddy of mine who lost in a poker game decided to record his girlfriend without her knowing after they hooked up. I tried it out and it can pick up clear audio from about 40 feet away. It's like a spy gadget, pretty crazy. Probably won't need it, but it can't hurt to have it around. I had it on me just in case, thanks. Hell, the two of us got to Stokes Fitness Palace a few minutes before 7. A big guy came up to the door and asked for ID. I showed him my driver's license and he nodded. When Hall tried to come in with me, the guy stopped him and said, "Sorry, but this is a private event and you're not invited, just Mr. Bostic." I looked him in the eye and said, "No problem, come on Hall, let's go. If you can't get in, I can't either. Hey, buddy, make sure you tell Stacy Bostic." So, when Herman tried to start walking back to the house with the car, the VIP guests were all good to go. "We'll let you in up front, but I gotta take your cell phones before you come in. Like I said before, this is a private event and no pictures are allowed." Reluctantly, we handed over our phones, which he put in separate manila envelopes with our names on them. They'll be given back to us when we leave the place, for security reasons. The envelopes will stay sealed until then. We locked the door when we walked into the house. Inside, we saw 2 huge tables with candles on them in the middle of the gym. There were a bunch of guys working out and getting ready for something, or maybe they were being escorted. He asked me how to get through the gym and led me to an office where Stacy was waiting. I nodded to Hal to show him I was okay, and he relaxed and started walking around the gym. We went into an office and the door closed behind us. I saw Gerald, Goliath, Jenkins sitting at a table across from me, with Stacy standing next to him. So, I was walking around in my dark robe when 5 more guys popped up behind me, like they were just waiting for me to show up. And then I was like, "Hey Stacy, what's up with the robe? Why aren't you wearing your regular clothes?" Stacy looked all nervous and glanced over at Goliath, who gave her the go-ahead. She hesitantly said, "Okay, but you gotta promise not to remember anything." "I swear on my life," I told her. So she took off her robe and was standing there in the skimpiest bikini I'd ever seen. Before, there were these 3 tiny pieces of fabric barely covering her body with spaghetti straps. There was basically nothing left to the imagination. I asked Stacy what the hell was going on, why she was practically naked in a room full of dudes. Did she cheat on me? Is this her way of rubbing it in my face? I asked, getting angrier by the second. I mean, it's not exactly a surprise, but still, damn, honey, it's nice. After tonight, we'll finally have enough cash to start our family, we won't have to worry anymore. Don't wait any longer to start having kids, that's what this is all about. I'm doing this for us. What are you saying, Stacy? Put your clothes back on and let's get out of here right now. Come on. As I tried to grab her hand, Goliath stood up and stepped in front of her. I'm sorry, but I can't let you take her, Amy. Stacy is staying here tonight. You can have her back tomorrow, but for now, she's staying here. There's nothing you can do to stop it, he said quickly. I just can't, I said, reaching out to grab her, but then the 5 guys appeared. Out of nowhere, a group of guys came up behind me, surrounded me, and held me in place so they could listen to Stacy. She yelled, "If even a single hair on his head gets touched, the deal is off." Goliath agreed with her and warned the guys to be careful around me. Let me fill you in on who I am. What did you do in the military? I never joined the army, I served in the Marines. They called me Army, though. Why the heck would they do that? Did your buddies think you weren't good enough for the Marines? He laughed. Someone needs to clue me in on what's happening here, or else. There's gonna be trouble, I shouted. All right, Army, I hear you. Okay, here's the deal, I really fancy your wife Stacy. I've been hitting on her for a while, trying to get in her pants, but she's not having it. We've kissed and fooled around a lot, and I've sent her home all worked up plenty of times, but she won't let me seal the deal. We had a long chat about what it would take, and she mentioned that you guys are saving up for the future too. Hey mate, so I was thinking about your family and had this idea. I mentioned to her that I could see if there's interest in an arm wrestling competition. She said she might chip in a prize for the winner, maybe a wild night with her. At first she wasn't keen, but then started asking about the cash prize and how many people would be competing. I could tell I had her hooked, so all I had to do was work out the rest of the plan. Goliath kept on going. I knew she was into me as much as I was into her. I told her that if she teamed up with me, she could score $20,000 and a chance to get cozy with me. She asked how we would make it happen, so I suggested she make a solo, naked video at home for me to show to others interested in winning the money and a night with her. Each person had to pay $1,000 to enter. Once there were enough takers, I started organizing it, but there was a problem. She was stressing about cheating too much. I was thinking, what if you could also compete? If you somehow won, she wouldn't have to sleep with you, and you both could take home all the prize money. The idea that you might be able to stop her made her consider it. Goliath paused to take a drink of water before going on. She was convinced that you would never let something like that happen without it ruining your marriage, maybe even ending it. The girl really likes you, so I'll suggest that to her. I came up with a solution for that too. Yo, if you lose the contest, these 5 dudes will bring you back to this office and get you drunk. Then they'll give you some ketamine, which is like what vets use to knock out horses and stuff. People figured out it's also good for date rape because it makes you forget everything for a day and leaves your system quick so you can't get caught on a drug test. They call it K-Cat, Valley, and Kit Kat on the streets. That's why I can't trust those guys. Listen up, I'm gonna spill the beans without holding back because you won't remember a thing I tell you tonight. 40 dudes have signed up to win some money by spending the night with your wife, and let me tell you, the biggest, baddest dude in the building is me. I've made them think they all have a shot at winning, but let's be real, I'm gonna take the prize, split it between Stacy and Tucker, and have a wild time all night while you're too wasted to even notice. Time to head home, buddy. Tomorrow, after your wife crashes at your place, I won't bother mentioning this again. When you wake up, she'll tell you she won $2,000 in a contest. Then you two can start popping out babies like there's no tomorrow. You'll have a sudden realization, she'll have her cash, and I'll have tried my hardest to party or cry all night long. Gerald, you really screwed up. I persuaded, I said. What's that? He smirked. Just grab those 5 guns like we planned. Why are they trying to lock me up now? I asked. It's a good question, he replied. He thinks these 5 know better than anyone that they can't beat me. So, your amazing wife has already paid them in full to take care of you and make sure everything goes smoothly. They won't be competing tonight. Stacy paid them, I was confused. That's right, sucker, the person next to me said suddenly. She gave the 5 of us blow jobs earlier today. I really envy how skilled your wife is in the kitchen. I'm thinking about it. Hey, I'm thinking of hiring her to teach my wife how to do it, like she did. He teased Stacy and grinned when I asked, is that true? Did you give all 5 of these guys tasks before I got here? She was smart enough to look down at the floor instead of lying to me. Sorry to let you guys down, but I'm not interested in competing in any competition to win anything, especially if she's involved. You can do whatever you want with her, I'm leaving. I noticed this as I tried to leave. I'm afraid we can't let you do that, Amy Goliath. I told you that the agreement was for you to arm wrestle the winner of tonight's event for money, in her honor. I also said that you wouldn't remember anything that happened tonight. But honestly, I don't care anymore about who she talks to or for how long. All I want is to divorce that backstabbing witch as soon as possible. Stacy started crying when I spoke harshly and said to ignore anything she had said, because you won't remember it anyway. Tomorrow he's gonna be your loving husband again, Goliath said confidently. You have my word, Stacy smiled weakly. It's reassuring after my threat to divorce her, she added. Enough small talk, let's go out there and start things, Goliath insisted. When the contestants saw my wife's nearly naked body, they dragged me out of the gym violently. They went wild with applause and catcalls. I looked around but couldn't find my buddy Hal. Where is he? I asked. Your friend decided not to stick around, Goliath replied. So, we didn't want to force him to stay, so we let him leave. Sorry, one of the 5 people told me he left on his own. They convinced him to go. I also knew he wouldn't leave me, I thought he must be nearby. And he was. Goliath wore a thin jacket to hide his huge muscles. He didn't want to scare off any of the candidates by giving them false hope. He started talking to the group, saying, "All right everyone, this is what we've been waiting for. We're just waiting for everyone to cough up their $1,000 and sign the waivers so Stokes Fitness Palace can't be blamed if anyone gets hurt during the game. It's a double elimination tournament, so if you lose once, you can try again. The first to win 2 out of 3 matches takes the title. But if you lose twice, you're out." Stacy's all about fair play and wants her hubby Tommy to join in too. All right guys, listen up. The main goal is to protect Stacy's honor. The top competitor will battle it out and the winner takes all. Got it? Good. The winner gets a fancy trophy and $40,000 cash prize. But here's the deal, we've all agreed to split the winnings with Stacy. She's getting $220,000 no matter what. And the winner gets to have a little love fest with her. You've all seen her video, so one lucky guy is in for a treat. Last night was lit, everyone was hyped for the contest as Stacy was getting down and dirty on the dance floor for everyone's entertainment. We got 2 big shots here tonight, Mr. Justin Albright and Mr. Kevin Saunders, who are the official refs for the World Wrestling Federation. They're calling the shots and their decisions are final, no arguing. To speed things up, we'll have 2 arm wrestling tables going at the same time with hand packs. Let's get this party started. Hand packs are made to give you more power and leverage. 2 matches at a time will give each player a fair shot at winning. We have a computer and Randy came up with the name generator. The first 20 matches will be decided by drawing names from a hat. All the results will be recorded and the computer will generate the next set of matchups. This will continue until we reach the final 2. If you lose, you should stick around and root for your teammates. The 2 wrestling tables were the same. Basically, we were all standing instead of sitting during the matches to prevent any discomfort or injuries. Each athlete had to wear padded elbow pads and put their elbow down while wrestling on the touchpad. The goal was to push your opponent's hand towards a projector that displayed our names on a screen. The setup was pretty clear for everyone involved. The 2 tables were around 10 feet apart, and Stacy was standing between them, getting ready to make some final announcements. "Hey guys, I just wanted to wish y'all good luck tonight. And hey, if you need some extra encouragement before the fight, feel free to give my melons a squeeze for good luck," she said with a giggle. The guys all gathered around and cheered even louder. The first 4 guys took her up on her offer and squeezed her melons one by one, getting ready for the match. The referees went over the rules for each game, and when they said go, each man nodded in agreement and got ready to go all out. Man, you wouldn't believe the noise coming from that place. Every guy was going all out to beat their opponent, with everyone else cheering them on. It was intense. But there I was, feeling sick to my stomach, watching my wife flirt with other guys, playing with her boobs like they were public property. I thought those melons were mine, but she was just shamelessly showing them off to anyone. I felt so betrayed and humiliated. And to top it off, 2 fights ended in just 3 minutes, with the first round finishing in under 30 minutes. So, the second round with double elimination ended up taking an extra half hour. After the first hour, half of the people got kicked out, leaving 20 left. They were quickly matched up randomly by the algorithm. Stacy then decided to spice things up for the remaining players by giving out some extra bonuses. This motivated everyone to step up their game. Every guy there took advantage of her generosity, and she didn't seem to mind all the attention she was getting. In fact, she even encouraged it by inviting each guy to join in. After 5 more rounds in the next 15 minutes, there were 10 winners and losers. Another 15 minutes narrowed it down to just 10 final candidates. After an hour and a half, the room was filled with testosterone, machismo, prize money, and anticipation for a night of pleasure with my wife. The atmosphere was intense. I sat in a chair on the side of the gym, away from the action, feeling horrified. Stacy kept looking at me, urging me to join the fight, but every time she looked my way, I just turned my head to avoid her. Don't mind her, those 5 stares never left me. If I tried to make a run for the door, I knew I wouldn't have even made it 5 feet. The next 30 minutes were spent narrowing down the competition to the semi-final matchups. Of course, the contestants were all over Stacy, kissing and grabbing her and taking her stuff. In the end, Goliath faced off against another strong guy in the semi-finals and easily won, setting himself up as my opponent, just like he predicted. The ref warned me. Goliath said he only needed 15 minutes to chill out before going up against me in the final match. He basically dismissed me as no big deal and acted like he didn't even need time to recover before taking me on. He was so confident he would win. Goliath gave a nod to the 5 people who guided me to the final table. The referee was all set to oversee the last match of the night and declare a winner. As I nervously stood on the other side of the table from Goliath and another guy, it was obvious that nobody in the room believed I stood a chance at winning. So, there was a bit of smoking and joking going on, all in good fun, to show that Stacy was Goliath's top prize. They were putting an end to the flirty stuff he was learning about my wife. As I stood by the table, the crowd gradually quieted down and I started talking as I walked over to check out the $40,000 prize money. I asked, "Why do you want to see it, little man? You don't stand a chance in hell of winning it." Goliath was talking big about it, maybe that's why. But, I totally forgot. Anyway, everyone here has been checking out my wife for some motivation before their match. I just want to see the money, that's all. Is it cool if I check out the cash box that follows all the rules? I asked. Yeah, go for it, little man, he said, signaling to one of the guys to grab the box. He opened it up so I could see. Looking good so far. Can one of the refs double-check to make sure everything's in there? Goliath nodded. Mr. Albright, can you handle this? Referee Justin Albright quickly counted and confirmed the $40,000 total. Hey, can you hold on to this for me? Just wait until the end of the finals, then we can give out the award right away. Look at Goliath, he's so confident. Your reputation is solid, we trust you completely. Justin then held the thick stack of $400, with $100 bills, close to his chest for security. Are you happy with that, AMI? Goliath smirked and said, it's good enough for today. Let's do this. The match isn't over yet, so I can start kicking your wife's butt. Come here, honey, give me another taste of that delicious honey pot, he bragged. Soon, it will all be mine. Stacy. He came up to him and planted the most intense French kiss he had ever had. As she did that, her hand sneakily touched his crotch in front of everyone, while Goliath pulled down her top and fondled her boobs right in front of me. I had never felt so shocked and embarrassed in my life. After he was done with Stacy, she came over to me to try and seduce me, but I put a stop to it right there. I told her in a firm voice. Don't ever touch me again, Stacy. Maybe tomorrow I won't even remember any of this. Listen up, starting tonight. I need you to remember what I'm about to tell you for the rest of your life. $20,000 for a night of wild sex with you may make you pricey, but it'll still get you turned on. You're just a cheating slave, and if it were up to me, I'd divorce your ass right now. You disgust me, hiding behind your money so I don't have to see your face. Gerald can't even stand to look at you for inspiration, and I sure as hell don't need to see you either. Just the sight of you makes me want to puke all over you. Yo, I'm lover boy over here. Stacy started bawling because I laid into her with some tough criticism. Every dude in the building got pissed off at me for talking smack about the hot chick they're all lusting after. And then she walked past me in response to my request, and Goliath stepped in to defend her. He was like, who the hell do you think you are? You can't talk to her like that. He was like, she used to be my wife, but if I had the chance, I'd fix that mistake before I leave this place. She wouldn't be my wife anymore, and she could take on all 40 of you. Go ahead and have as many kids as you want, I couldn't care less. I used to love her, but now I can't stand her. There's no way she's having my babies. I was so mad, the room went quiet in shock at what I said, but everyone still sided with Stack. Enough with your big talk, little man. Put your arm up here and I'll put you in your place and shut you up. Goliath ordered. Everyone cheered for Goliath's boldness, knowing he would follow through on his promise. And I had no choice but to go along. I raised my arm, feeling small in comparison. I had my little arm up against Goliath's huge muscles. We clasped hands tight to make sure there were no cheating or funny business. Kevin Saunders double-checked the rules before giving the signal to start. I heard Stacy whisper to Goliath not to hurt me. If it were up to him, he probably would have broken my arm. But he knew my mom would be mad if anything bad happened to me, so he promised her he'd go easy on me. I was giving it my all, trying my best. Our hands didn't budge an inch. It felt like I was pushing against a damn brick wall. He told his buddy to count to 30, which felt like it took forever. Then he started talking big, saying he was gonna school me in muscle therapy, all while grinning like a fool. He grabbed my hand and pushed it hard against the table, making my hand and wrist shake like crazy. I tried to fight back with all my might, but it wasn't enough. My wrist hit the padded bar in slow motion as the ref announced Goliath as the winner. The crowd went wild, cheering him on like crazy. I totally crushed Sport and her men. I stepped away from the table, did some deep breathing, and shook my arms to get rid of the tension. I won 2 out of 3 games before putting my arm back on the table. Goliath laughed at me, saying I know nothing about muscles. He thinks he's all tough with his aerobic muscles, but all the deep breathing in the world won't save him from getting beaten. By the time I'm finished avoiding his wife all night, she'll be too sore to even move for a week. I promise, Sheila and I are gonna win this. Man, that gathering crowd went wild when Goliath claimed he had all $20,000. Those words just fueled my anger even more. Kevin gave us the go-ahead and Goliath had this big grin on his face. I was putting everything I had into pushing him back, twisting my hips to get the upper hand. After about 10 seconds, he started pushing down to seal the deal. My hand was shaking like crazy, but the adrenaline was pumping and I was giving it my all. He managed to push me back a quarter of the way, but I wasn't giving up that easily. Man, I was way down there before I finally felt something. It was a weird but familiar feeling. It was like he had hit his breaking point. My arm stopped shaking and just focused on what it had to do. I let out a big groan as I gave it everything I had. I was huffing and puffing like I was running a marathon. And then something crazy happened, his hand just kept draining my energy. We were both pushing against each other, using up all our strength. The crowd watching us couldn't believe it, they went quiet as they saw me slowly pushing Goliath's head down towards his side of the table. I could practically feel the energy draining out of him as he weakened against my arm. Damn, the ref slapped the mat to signal the pin. It was so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. The shock was unreal. He jumped back from the table, surprised. No way in hell he beat me. That was just luck, he yelled. You're going down, kid. I'm gonna crush you like a bug. No more games, let's do this. He ordered a drink, tossed his jacket, and ripped off his shirt, showing off his muscles shining in the light. All the guys in the room were jealous of Goliath's ripped hats and shoulder muscles. He threw his arms back like the Incredible Hulk and growled in anger at his embarrassing loss. He slammed his elbows on the table, daring me to one final match. One of us was about to suffer their second loss and ultimate defeat, and he was dead set on making sure it was me. I ignored his antics, I had dealt with this kind of showboating before. Before accepting the big man's challenge, I focused on my deep breathing techniques. I needed more oxygen in my blood, so I wanted this next meeting to happen sooner rather than later. Kevin finished his work and gave the signal to start. I knew Goliath Sanger would push him to try his best. My only goal was to not let him beat me like last time. He came at me aggressively, pushing my arm with all his might. I just had to hold my arm up and wait it out, my wrist was so close to giving in. He grabbed my hands and my wrists were trembling like leaves in the wind again, shaking in response to his strong effort. All I could do was resist his search. Then I heard a voice from behind me saying, "Come on, Goliath, take him down. The guy who's a real man is here. Finish him so I can have you between my legs. Finish him, do it now." Steve was fueled by Stacy's bold and lustful encouragement, thrilling the audience. But he didn't realize how her words would affect me. I was filled with fresh adrenaline, enraged by her remarks, which combined with. I took a deep breath and let out a loud groan, suddenly finding a surge of energy that finally broke the stalemate we'd been in for like 45 seconds. Our hands slowly raised and started moving the other way, feeling his arm give in as I applied relentless pressure. Our hands went over the top and pushed down, forcing his hand in a direction it didn't want to go. He groaned and twisted his body, trying to get some leverage, but Kevin declared my win as I pushed his wrist down. Using up all my last bit of energy, I did it. I beat Goliath twice out of 3 rounds. It was finally done, and there was silence all around. Goliath was shocked and asked me how the hell I managed to do it. He couldn't believe he lost to someone as small as me. He begged to know my secret. I told him I'll spill the beans, but only if he agrees to my 2 conditions. He reluctantly agreed. First, I wanted my $440,000 winnings up front before I spill the beans. Second, after I tell him my secret, I wanted to go solo without anyone's interference. Trying to stop me? Do I have your word? I made it clear. Goliath nodded in agreement, handing over the money to Justin. He passed me the cash and I quickly stuffed a bunch of 20s into my jeans pocket just in case. It was a bit of a struggle, but I managed to get it done. I want everyone to know that Mr. Bostic won this contest fair and square. Whether we like it or not, he won't be messed with after his explanation. Goliath argued that he would be allowed to leave. Stacy just stood there in shock, silent. Feeling reassured, I decided to fill everyone in. I've dedicated my whole. I've been busting my butt on farms and construction sites my whole life, lifting heavy stuff every day. I may not have big muscles like some folks, but the ones I do have give me endurance, stamina, and strength. I even served in the Marines for a few years, stationed in Japan and South Korea. We were told not to hang out too much with the locals because of cultural differences. They suggested sticking to places that are friendly to Marines. So, we came up with some creative ways to pass the time. With all the macho energy at the base, wrestling became a popular way to blow off steam and beat boredom. We even set up weight classes to see who was the best in each category. Heavier classes after a year of arm wrestling and still haven't lost a match. One of the doctors checked me out to see how I could beat guys twice my size. He figured my arms must be powered by slow-twitch muscles from all the aerobic workouts. You gym rats who lift heavy weights quickly build fast-twitch muscles for short bursts of energy. My arms might not be as strong, but I can keep going all day thanks to my endurance and stamina. As long as I keep breathing and getting oxygen, my arms can keep working. They said I beat you not because I was stronger, but because I outlasted you as your weak muscles gave out. Even though I was in the Marines, they called me Army for 2 reasons. Army implies strong, and I was also known for my artwork. So there you have it, I've explained myself. Now I'll leave you to do whatever you want tonight. I walked calmly towards the door, everyone stayed still and quiet, still shocked. Then Stacy called out to me. Hey babe, this is amazing. Just hold on and I'll drive us home, she begged. I'll wait outside. Go put some clothes on before we head home, I replied. She took my comment as a sign of support, but really I just needed an excuse to buy some time to get out of there. She quickly ran to the office to change back into her regular clothes while they ran outside to get help. When he saw me, he flashed his lights. I knew he wouldn't leave me behind. As I walked over to him, I noticed a group of 5 people coming out of the mun. I was looking around the parking lot when they spotted me and started booking it towards me. Hal didn't hesitate and took off, leaving skid marks behind. Somehow, I managed to keep all my memories from that night. I swear I didn't ditch you in there by yourself. The bouncers gave me some dirty looks, kicked me out, and even threw my phone on the ground. They said it was a private event and I didn't have a formal invite. I waited for you all night, even though those guys looked sketchy as hell. Your heels, man, they weren't very friendly. I knew you'd have my back though, so I was counting on you. You know I always got your back too. So, what's the deal? Where do you want me to take you? He asked. Just take me home, I insisted. So, I went on to tell him everything that happened that night. Hal was completely shocked. He couldn't believe Stacy would betray me like that, especially with the whole drug situation. He just shook his head at the crazy betrayal. I told him about my phone too. I left my phone at the gym and didn't bother trying to go back for it. It's actually kinda nice not having it, that way Stacy or anyone else can't reach me. Hal asked me as he pulled up to my place, should I park behind your building? I figured Stacy would show up soon, so if she comes alone, I'll chat with her while I pack. I was hoping I could crash at your place for a day or 2 to figure things out. Of course you can, you don't even have to ask. But all I have is. The offer I have for you is a spare couch in my small apartment. The sofa is really comfy, thanks to Stacy. She usually gets home way before I have to leave. I'll talk to her tonight and tell her what's up. If she shows up with any of those sketchy guys, I'll sneak out the back and come over to your place. If Hal said anything when he stopped by the building, I had already packed my bags and was zipping up the second one as Stacy rushed inside. "Thank God you're here, I was so worried," she yelled, looking all repentant. "You better get out of here soon." "When I got here, were you by yourself or with the 5 clerks you were chatting with earlier?" "I made it clear that no one else is following me. It's just you and me. I want to say sorry for how I acted earlier tonight. I got carried away with the excitement of it all. I was rooting for you to win, but I had to cover all bases to make sure we had at least $220,000 to kickstart our family. You were amazing. You showed everyone who's boss and what you're capable of. Girl, you really came through for me last night and now we have the whole $40,000. I'm so excited to be your love slave all night instead of having to deal with someone else." "That's not how I remember it, Stacy. I swear I heard you say, 'Come on Goliath, take him down.' So the real man is here to finish him off so I can have you all to myself. Just do it now." She was smart enough to look at the floor for a moment like I said before. "I was playing devil's advocate, but I don't remember you ever doing that. I was rooting for you, but now you can go play on their team after we break up. You can flirt and hook up with any guy you want without me caring. Seriously, divorce. Tonight was supposed to be about raising money to start our family. I want to have a baby with you, not with anyone else. This was only supposed to happen once." Goliath said you had no chance of winning and would move on quickly. "Yeah, divorce, you should have thought about that. So, before you decided to do what you did with those kids, Stacy, you went off with 5 guys today. But guess what? I wasn't one of them. And just to top it off, you were totally cool with keeping me against my will and making it clear that I married the wrong woman. I never cheated on you. I've never slept with anyone, so technically it's not cheating. So, you're cool with me hooking up with 5 other girls. Your loss. Fine by me. Stacy, call it whatever you want, but I see it as cheating. You're being unfaithful to your marriage and your vows. The only reason you're sticking by him is because he lost the wrestling match against me. Otherwise, you'd have him in bed with you all night long. And that stupid tie you sent me would have me forgetting everything. I'll never trust you again, ever. We'll never have kids together. Even if you had $1 million, divorce is the only option. The only option for me is to get nothing less." I was furious and she started crying uncontrollably. "No, you can't mean that. You just said you'd never give up on us. We belong together forever, we'll always be a part of each other. I'm glad we're breaking up before having a baby. I couldn't stand dealing with people like you while raising a child." Suddenly, there was a knock on the front door. "Why don't you go see who it is, sweetheart?" Stacy asked politely. "I don't care who it is. I just want to get out of here." I told them it's cool, I'll go see who it is. She kindly said sure, and of course I knew who it was. I was positive those 5 goons were coming to do their job, so I wasn't gonna stick around. I quietly snuck out the back with my bags and sprinted to the car parked outside. Luckily, I made a quick getaway. I crashed on the couch at the house, armed and ready to protect the place if needed. Come Sunday morning, I settled up. Me and Hal scored 2 cheap flights to Vegas. Once we got there, we had a bunch of choices for where to crash. We gathered up all the used betting receipts we could find, even though I didn't really need it all. We kept going until we had almost $40,000 worth. When Stacy realized I was serious about divorcing her, I knew she'd go after the money, probably wanting a 50-50 split. I wasn't about to let her benefit from her shady behavior. Maybe all her ducks will finally come home to roost. My friends said they would help her out with the divorce, but I never agreed. I called in sick on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday because I wanted to get things done quickly. I went to the first lawyer I could find who could see me right away. Lincoln Price told me that a basic divorce would cost around $4,000 to $4,500. I gave him $5,000 in cash and asked for a receipt. I told him the extra money was a tip for his great service. I knew he would hook me up when he started talking, and I felt good knowing I had a badass lawyer on my side. He said he could help her out at the gym on Tuesday afternoon, and the sooner the better. We only had 2 credit cards in our names, so I canceled both of them. Luckily, neither of them had any outstanding balances in our bank or savings accounts, which I didn't want to fight over, so I left them alone. However, I did open a new bank account just in my name and asked for all future checks to be deposited there. I also canceled a service over the phone, which was a relief to get rid of. I got a new cheap phone just to use temporarily until I figured out my next move. I only gave the number to people I trust, like Hal and my parents. On Tuesday, I searched for apartments and found one close to work that was decent and affordable. My parents offered to let me stay with them, but I'm too stubborn to go back right now. They were shocked when I told them about Stacy's behavior. I didn't give them all the details, just that she was offering sexual favors to others. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. They were really let down by her and knew exactly why I broke up with her. I did hit up my buddy Hal for a favor on Wednesday. We used his truck to move my stuff from my old place with Stacy to my new one all day long. I was trying to avoid seeing her, so I made sure all communication went through my lawyer, Lincoln. But that plan fell through. She must have followed me home from work one day because she showed up at my door right after I walked in. Got a new place. Took forever to finally open the door for Stacy after she kept knocking. Just say what you gotta say and then leave. I'm trying to make dinner and you're not wanted here. Why did you have to serve me divorce papers? I told you I was gonna do it anyway. Don't bother asking questions, you know the answers. I already explained why I did what I did. Maybe I messed up, but I never expected it to go this bad. All right, thanks. I heard what you said. All right, I said you can go now. Just give me 30 minutes, and if you still want me to leave after that, I will. I gave her a knowing look as I slid a blank piece of paper and a pen in front of her. I'll give you 30 minutes, but you gotta give me something first as a sign of trust, you know. She offered up a name. I need the names, addresses, and marital statuses of the 5 guys you sent out. And I also want the location of the lights, their home addresses, and marital statuses. You give me the info, and you'll get your 30 minutes. I tried. I can't do that, the army shrink won't like it. I'm worried you'll go after guys who will only cause trouble for you. I can't take the risk of getting in trouble. So, since you seem to be making decisions for my own good, I'll do the same. Stacy, you need to leave now because I can't be responsible for you. I can't take any chances, so go and don't come back. I tried to make it clear, but she just wouldn't let me go. It was obvious that her lovers were more important to her. Friends are more important than fixing our relationship, so she just left without saying anything, leaving me in silence with tears. I was hoping for a break from her constant demands. My lawyer, Lincoln, told me that Stacy got her own legal counsel who is friends with the judge and convinced him to make me attend at least 8 couples counseling sessions to try and reconcile, all without a hearing. Lincoln was surprised that the judge would do that, but judges have their ways. Man, when it comes to divorce in our super uptight neighborhood, there's a lot of hush-hush going on. Luckily, Lincoln was able to hook me up with the counselor I wanted. He picked someone he thought would be neutral and fair, but I went with a dude to run the 90-minute sessions. During the first sesh, Stacy apologized for the mix-up and claimed nothing shady went down. But then she got all defensive, saying I was just jealous and making stuff up. Can you believe that? So, I was dealing with this total mess from the guys at the gym about her, and it made my job way easier. Instead of just calling her a liar and throwing more accusations her way, I decided to switch things up. I straight up told her I wasn't in love with her anymore and couldn't bear the thought of spending another day with her. I even told her and the counselor that I thought she was anorexic and not attractive, and that any kids we had would have been a disaster. I pulled the classic, I need my space, move, saying any feelings I had for her before were gone. When she found out she started hating me, she cried a lot when she heard the new information. She didn't believe me when I told her how I felt, but the therapist scolded Stacy for not letting me express my feelings. In our next meeting, I was asked what I didn't like about Stacy so she could work on improving our relationship. I told her she would need a lot of plastic surgery to change her face completely and dye her hair red. I also said she has the body of a teenager. So, I'm babysitting this girl, and I think she's trying to set me up with her teenage daughter. I told her to give me $50 first before we can even talk about it. The counselor didn't agree with my bold stance, saying most guys would appreciate Stacy's fitness level. I told him all those other guys could have her. In our third session, he wanted us to list things we liked about each other. I just made a joke out of it and only said one nice thing. She, on the other hand, listed off all hers. Y'all, I wrote out a long list of how awesome I am trying to stroke my ego. I straight up ignored her ramblings, and when she wanted to read it, I just said the only good thing I could think of was that she closed the bathroom door politely when she went to take a dump. They both got mad at me for being rude, and the rest of our time together was me trying to convince them that no words could make me love her again. I kept saying that marrying her was the worst mistake ever. And when they asked what kind of woman I wanted, she was like, "Tell me the names of those Asian women you're interested in after your divorce." I was just like, "You give me your list first, then I'll give you mine next week." So, I asked for her list. Finally, she gave me the list she asked for. I was like, "All right, Stacy, now it's your turn to give me the names of those women you mentioned last time." So, I handed her the list and said, "There you go." And then... Wait, what? Stacy asked, confused. I was just looking at this list of older ladies in their 60s and 70s, and none of them are Asian, she pointed out. Did you think I wanted an Asian woman? I chuckled. No, silly. I was just thinking about asking out some of these older ladies later on. Stacy looked puzzled. On one hand, she seemed relieved that I wasn't interested in someone else, but on the other hand, she was mad. What the hell? That I manipulated her insecurities to get her to give me the list I needed to save time and money on APIs. Then Stacy went all out, getting all my friends and acquaintances to try and convince me to give her another chance. Some of these people were friends I've had for years. She even got my parents on her side, making me think she was genuinely sorry and that I should forgive her. You know, maybe think about giving her another shot. I didn't want to lose all my friends by shutting myself off or ditching them completely. So, I went with a more sneaky tactic, plugging in my earbuds whenever her name came up and cranking up the volume without saying a word. It got the message across loud and clear a few times, and the drama died down pretty quickly. Hal never budged though, he was on my side from the start. And the fact that none of the names on the hit list got physically attacked just proved my point even more. So, Stacy thought I was finally starting to forgive her for all the crap she pulled that could have landed me in jail. But then the counseling sessions ended with no progress towards making things right. Stacy begged me once more to forgive her and give her another shot. She put on this whole dramatic show, crying and all, trying to win me over. The counselor then asked for my final answer. "Stacy, would you answer the 5 phone calls you got from Gerald?" Turns out, Gerald was someone special that I foolishly thought was all mine. Marriage is done for. You shattered my trust by showing me that what I believed in and what you promised was all a lie. All I had was false hope. I don't want the love you're giving anymore. I know other guys will be lining up to be with you, but I won't be one of them. Good luck finding someone else. Our marriage is over, let it go. I got up and walked away while she cried and shook her head. I didn't even bother looking back. I could tell her anger was because I kept turning her down. Her lawyer is asking for all her money, especially the $40,000 she wanted half of. I gave my lawyer receipts for $5,000 for his work on my divorce, $1,000 for a trip to Vegas, and $34,000 for bets we lost on the same day. She and her lawyer say I shouldn't have spent her half, but my lawyer set them straight. I spent all the money before she even got served with divorce papers, so technically all the winnings were mine to do with as I pleased. As a nice gesture, I let her keep all the little amounts in our checking and savings accounts to make her feel like she had won something against me. Little did she know, I still had most of the winnings stashed away. We had a divorce hearing scheduled for 2 weeks later, and I thought it was the perfect time for my next move to career services. I had copies of everything ready to go. Okay, so basically I gave audio recordings to the wives of 4 guys who got some special treatment from Stacy. The 5th guy was single but had a girlfriend. I told them about what went down that night and asked if they remembered if their men had planned to stay out all night. The ladies could check with Stacy if they needed to confirm the details. I heard that 3 out of the 5 guys got kicked out of the house for a while, but no relationships were totally ruined. They told their partners that all they did was get a blowjob and never mentioned Stacy at all. It was completely one-sided. I also made sure that Gerald Goliath Jenkins' wife got a copy of the unedited audio tapes. He was my main target because the whole contest idea and suggestion that I be thrown down memory lane was all his. Apparently, he had cheated twice before, but they say 3rd time's the charm. She had forgiven him in the past because of their 2 young kids, but she wasn't about to do it again. So, get this. Calvin and Stacy Bostic's divorce was officially approved, and they didn't need to pay alimony because Stacy's cash cow is the chip. I was all good with that, but then Lincoln dropped the bomb that I couldn't sue Jim for damages since they don't have a no-dating policy. So, I did the only logical thing, spilled all the tea to the local press, naming names and all. Stokes Fitness Palace ended up axing Goliath and Stacy because of the bad press. Everyone talking about the event made me realize I was most likely the reason they teamed up, but I didn't care anymore because it turns out Goliath actually wanted to get back together with his wife. He loves his kids almost as much as he loves playing baseball, just like Stacy did with me. He told his wife that he didn't sleep with Stacy yet, but he couldn't deny that the fact I won the arm wrestling match was the only reason he tried to convince her he threw the contest on purpose. Because he couldn't finish it, he was sure that if he kept hanging out with Stacy, his wife would never forgive him, so he cut off all contact with her. Stacy went back to waitressing at Higgins' restaurant. I used to tip well when I went there, and the girls would fight over who got to serve me. I kept tipping big while I was there. Stacy tried to talk to me a few times, but I ignored her. She got the message right away. Some other girls didn't want her to scare off a regular customer like me. Hal came up to me one day, saying it was time for me to start living again. Honestly, I really missed having someone around. He told me he was gonna set me up on a blind date this Saturday night. How could I say no to my best buddy who's always been there for me? I felt like I had to show him some respect, so I reluctantly agreed to go on the date. Before he left, he asked me if I could do him a favor. Hey, I didn't even think twice about loaning him $1,000. I told him he could have more if he needed it, since he really came through for me that night at the gym. He's been a good friend and always has my back. When I gave him the money, I made it clear it was a gift, not a loan. I didn't want anything in return. He just smiled weirdly and walked off. He's always been kind of shady when I ask him about stuff. Now he wants me to come over to his place at 7 o'clock tonight. So, on Saturday, he showed up all chill and everything, ready to introduce me to my blind date. He said his girlfriend, Melinda, was just as pumped as he was. Melinda was amazing. I don't know why they hadn't tied the knot yet, they were made for each other. I threw on some casual clothes and headed over to Howell's place. It was packed with cars, but luckily he had a spot in his driveway for me to park. Gary warmly welcomed me inside. So, there was totally nothing happening in the house that I could see, but then Hal took me down to his basement. As soon as we walked into his basement pool area, I heard some shushing. And guess who I saw there? Teddy, with a bunch of gorgeous ladies all in bathrobes. Some of them I knew from back in elementary school, and it's been years since I've seen them. Hey ladies, I said nervously. Hello, Amy, they all tried to respond together, all cheery and sing-songy. What's going on? All right, here's all you lovely ladies, my blind dates, I chuckled as I was pushed down onto the floor. The women just giggled back at me. I highly doubt you could handle all of these beauties at once, Amy said sarcastically. Melinda helped Hal with the next phase. All right, ladies, it's time for the big reveal and parade. Let's show off for the champion, she instructed the girls. It was clear they had rehearsed before I arrived, as they took off their ties and set them aside. I saw 12 beautiful women standing in front of me, all dressed up. Man, those one-piece swimsuits are looking classy and elegant. The bikinis, on the other hand, were showing off enough skin for me to appreciate the curves and shapes of each one. But let me tell you, these ladies were not even close to being trashy like Stacy was that one time she wore the tiny bikini. These women are on a whole other level of elegance. Hal then started talking to Ami, saying that all these girls know about what went down with Goliath at the gym that night, and how you totally embarrassed him. So now you're like a legend to them, a real folk hero. Hey, just wanted to let you know that you're currently on the market, so Melinda and I came up with a great idea. We handpicked all the single ladies you see here tonight who aren't tied down. Each one is gorgeous in their own way. We invited them to compete in an arm wrestling match for some fun, not to see who's the strongest. None of them are bodybuilders, just regular fit gals. Hey guys, make sure to take care of yourselves, but everyone's here to have a blast, Hal explained. There are 3 reasons they're here: to have fun, to win some cash prizes, and to go on blind dates for the night. The overall winner gets $500, second place gets $200, third gets $70, fourth gets $50, and fifth gets $40. Anyone in 6th through 12th place will get $20 each, mostly to cover gas costs. The total cash prize for tonight's event is $11,000. Thanks for sponsoring this event, it was really nice of you. Thanks, Hal. Translation: I chuckled and told them I knew they were planning something, but I had no idea what it was. Hal then said, "All right ladies, you all know what's happening tonight, but our friend Amy here is clueless. So, let me break it down for him. Amy, we're doing a 2-round elimination arm wrestling contest. You'll start each round, Linda will be the ref and decide the winners. Once we have an ultimate champ, the ladies will. Yo, you got a better shot at getting to know her if she ends up being your blind date for the night. But hey, she ain't gotta stick around if the vibes ain't right. We're not putting any pressure on the ladies here tonight. Southwest, if the first place doesn't work out, the next one gets a chance, and so on. Honestly, I don't think it'll be an issue, cause they're all into you like you're some kind of treat," he chuckled. I was down for the adventure, no doubt. I've been around the block with arm wrestling, so this blind date setup seemed like a fun twist. Not a single person, not even me, saw it coming. I knew who would win, I was right. Every lady was so fun and cute. I had no clue there were 12 ladies up for dating in our area, so this was a nice surprise. They set up a wrestling table next to the pool table. Hal gave each contestant a number and used a random number generator to pick the matches. The ladies sat on opposite sides of the table, holding hands in the right way and keeping them straight in the middle before saying go. It was Melinda and me. Alright, that was a blast. Everyone had a great time, even the ones who didn't win were laughing and having a good time. All the girls asked for a good luck kiss on the cheek, and I was happy to oblige. The winner was Bobby Superior, who walked away with the $500 prize in less than 30 minutes of competing. Bobby Sue looks a lot like Hannah Jeter, the actress. I saw her in her cute one-piece swimsuit, and she looked amazing. She nervously glanced over at me after receiving her plastic trophy and part of the cash prize. "Hey Amy, I've never actually asked a guy out before, so this is new territory for me. I'd love to be your blind date tonight if you're down for it," she said. "I happily accept your offer, Bobby Sue. I'm excited to get to know each other better." She smiled and gave me a kiss on the cheek. "Let me change out of this bikini real quick so we can go wherever you want to take me." "Hal and Melinda really think highly of you, so I'm game," I replied. As Bobby Sue was changing, 7 other girls came up to me, reminding me of their names. They gave me their number and told me to hit them up if things went south with Bobby Sue. I took Bobby Sue out for a nice dinner and a movie on our first date. The other girls had a party with Hal and Linda, playing pool. Bobby Sue and I hit it off right away. She filled the gap left by Stacy and we argued a lot about loyalty because of my ex. I had to test her trustworthiness too, so we both knew the consequences of lying and betrayal. Bobby Sue was worth it though. Baker turned into Bobby Sue Bostic. She was a stenographer at our county court. Kwong was highly respected. I still had most of my winnings from the 40 grand contest. We decided not to wait to have kids, and within 5 years, we had one of each. We kept going to Higgins' restaurant, where Stacy worked. I could see tears in her eyes as she watched the family that should have been hers having a great time. Thanks for listening to today's stories. If you liked it, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Go ahead and drop a comment below with your thoughts on what went down. Take care.